All right, it's 6:01, so I'm going to get started for the folks that are here. Looks like we have a lot of people jumping in right now. I'm excited to share. So we're going to jump in. Of course, I'm Rich Kiker. I am a director of online learning. I'm one of the Google education trainers, and I'm excited to share with everyone today what I like to consider the Google ecosystem and some of the ways Google EDU, Google Chrome, and every other platform across the ecosystem to create immersive experiences. I'm going to show you 3 or 4 really good ones that I think will catch your eye and easily make connections in the classroom. I'm sharing this because I'm a big fan of this idea of immersive experiences and giving students the ability to have discovery and inquiry kind of on demand and making it ubiquitous in your classroom and what that means exactly. I have one student in particular when I was still teaching about 7 years ago, spent his entire year focused on what I was calling an immersive literacy project in digital literacy. He spent his entire year in my class working on Flash animation and Flash scripting. And now today he's a 26-year-old college graduate, and he's running an animation design studio in Hungary, which I find just absolutely remarkable. And I think we all can share stories like that and hopefully create them for students. The first thing I want to make sure I give everyone here in this room is the set of links that will help you find all of these particular resources. For most of this session, you fortunately and luckily will not be looking at me. I'm going to screen share a lot, so you don't have to look at my ugly mug too much longer. I'm going to screen share, give you a number of resources that you can take away and use and hopefully share with teachers in your school, organization, or anywhere else that you're working to improve the lives of our students. Let me go ahead and start that screen share right now so I can give you a couple of these resources. So I'm going to start that. I'm actually going to bounce off of here into this window. And the first thing I want you to make sure that you see is this Google Doc that is the Hangout on Air resource guide. It's on the Google EDU, the Google Education on Air webpage attached to my session. And it's the one you can launch to get to these particular tools that I'm going to give you today. But initially, at least, for those of you here, so you don't have to go looking for what I'm about to show you, if you launch this short goo.gl URL, it will take you to this Google dashboard that I'm going to share with everyone here, and I'm going to give this to you. This is a Symbaloo. Many of you may have heard of this, a Web 2.0 tool. It just makes a really nice interactive web mix. And it's a Symbaloo that I update every few weeks or once a month at a minimum of these extended resources, these other things from Google that are empowering teachers and students in classrooms. So again, I'm just holding this up here for 1 second so you can copy this and type it down, or excuse me, type it into your web browser if you're trying to do that right now. Once you do that and you launch this location, that will take you out to this web page. And this is my site. This is the embedded tool. This is that collection of Google ecosystem tools that I was mentioning. As you can see, I'm only going to probably have time to show you 3 or 4 this afternoon, but I want you to have all of these. There's probably 60 or so of these tools on this particular dashboard that you can take and explore and have the single point of entry to create these experiences for kids. All right, so looking at this, each of these individual tiles is its own tool. Each of them are clickable and you can launch and go out to. And I'm going to go ahead and start with this one right here, the Google Cultural Institute. One of the things that Google is doing is these project teams across the organization are populating new and more, I don't know if I should say more effective, but I certainly think more effective ways to search and experience locations, things, live events, and so on. One of the places that's curating this is the Cultural Institute, and it looks like this. So the Google Cultural Institute is a collection from World Heritage sites, art museums. There's this wonderful part of the Cultural Institute called Historic Moments, and the Historic Moments are timelines of events with a number of primary sources, a number of hands-on, direct contact to the event and what happened at that particular event. So Historic Moments is wonderful to look at, but just for the sake of time, I'm going to go ahead and jump in here with Art Project on the left-hand side. And what Google Art Project is is a collection of museum artifacts, images, artwork, and so on from around the world, from a number of museums and galleries all over from every continent that we inhabit. When I'm looking at this, you'll see in the upper right-hand corner, I'm currently signed into Art Project. I see my galleries. I actually have the ability here, if we're talking about a topic in our classroom, if we're talking about some particular event in history, my students can search the Art Project and curate their own galleries of work. They can make their own art projects. They can collect historical artifacts. Absolutely wonderful piece of primary sources again, and a great way to demonstrate proficiency or mastery for our kids. Looking over here though, you'll notice I have user galleries, artworks, and artists, a number of selections across the top. I'm going to dive into collections right here. When I do that, you'll notice that there are 545 art museums curated currently in Google Art Project. You may have heard a lot about this idea of moonshot thinking from Google, a lot about this idea of 10x, so shooting 10 times out of the improvements of what we consider one iteration. So what is so far out there that we can improve upon so much that it will improve the whole experience? When I'm looking here, not only are there images of curated museums and galleries from all over the world. Of particular note, you'll see right here, museum view only. I think I heard recently that Google Street View teams on the maps side have collected 30 million miles of images on Street View. Well, now, what else can you do to compound that experience? Well, you can start to take that view and Street View technology inside. And if I turn on museum view only right here, you'll notice now that I get Pegman, the little yellow guy from Google Maps. And here I am in the Lithuanian Art Museum. I can click on Pegman here, and that will actually take me in to a virtual tour inside of the Lithuanian Art Museum, and I can move around, walk through the halls, experience the art in a different way. Additionally, I can move between levels over here, and I can use this floor plan to bounce in and out of different rooms inside of the museum, right? So when we're talking about a culture, or we're trying to have a conversation about a particular artist or any other developer, any other architect, author, whatever it might be, there are these collections here to give students the experiences to see them firsthand. I don't know about you guys, unless you're in Lithuania right now, but I probably won't be taking a field trip there anytime soon. For those of you in the United States, and actually everyone, but this is a pretty cool feature. If I go out to the White House and I search it from Art Project, when I go into the White House, there is also a virtual tour inside the White House that I can spin. I can look at presidential portraits. I can take a look at the mantle clock. I can move in and out all areas of the White House to experience this and share this with students. You know, the interdisciplinary options here are immense, right? Obviously, there's a humanities connection, but what else can you do with this in terms of math class? Well, I'm looking at this arch and I'm thinking about symmetry. Or if I'm somewhere in Italy and I'm looking at granite pillars, or in Athens, I can talk about density. I can talk about structural integrity and architecture and all these things that let our students not only acquire the knowledge, but help them to make meaning, and then hopefully be able to transfer that information, transfer that acquired knowledge into other things that they do, right? So Art Project, Google Cultural Institute, a wonderful place. You'll get lost here for hours checking this out. Another place I want to take you while we have our time together is if you're looking at this dashboard and you come down to near the bottom row, there's a little tile called Street View Treks. Similar to the Street View technology we were just looking at, or the Museum View technology. If I dive into Street View Treks right here, there is a collection of experiences from the Google Maps team, right? So here's Google Treks, Journey Beyond the Road, Nepal, the Gombe National Park, where Jane Goodall did all of her research, the pyramids, Angkor Wat, Colorado River, the Galapagos Islands. And if I pick any one of these individual experiences from the street treks, or excuse me, the treks from Google Maps team, when I jump in, let's say, to the Gombe National Forest, this map Well, this mapping experience won't only give me just the maps. It won't let me just walk down the paths that Jane Goodall walked and see the chimpanzee's natural habitat. But you can see here that as this renders and comes up, I can scroll down and the experience compounds. Looking here, I can actually go to locations inside the Gombe Park, move around, and explore the forest. As I scroll down a little bit more on my screen, you'll start to see a photo of Jane Goodall reveal itself, some information about how many years of research and hours of observation. I mean, just an incredible number, 200,000 hours of observation. And if I keep scrolling through the experience, I keep getting introduced to more and more components. Here's a day in the life of a chimpanzee. I can actually see the chimpanzee and their young walking the forest floor, hitching a ride, some information, and then even hyperlinks to explore this place and move around inside of the Street View technology, right? As I come down a little bit more, I see some interactive journalism components. You can see here the bush viper. I can see the olive baboon. And if I open, you'll see, again, this interactive journalism and short little animations, video captures, and of course, who doesn't love baby monkeys? Look at this. So, or I guess I should more appropriately say baby baboons. And I get some information about whatever animal I'm looking at or whatever species it is that I'm looking at. If I close out, I can move around to other creatures that live in the Gombe forest, like the bush viper. And I can see this and I can share this with students and have conversations, have them debate, research what Jane Goodall did, have conversations about ecology and conservation and what else is happening. And again, if I continue to scroll through this individual experience, I'll see legacy of research, the lake, and I can keep coming. There's messages from message from Jane Goodall. I have some video content. You can see that the media-rich opportunities in just this one experience from the Gombe National Park are dense and meaningful, and really can create, a culture, can create a place where students can have discovery-based learning and sometimes what I call accidental learning, right? You're in a place, you're learning about things, you click on something meaningful and you learn something else and you move on and you share it with your classmates. This is what I think modern classrooms should be all about, experiences. And we have the ability to create those in an immersive way, in a multimedia-rich way, with all of these additional tools from Google and the way that they're trying to change the web and the experience of the internet. Let me just pause there for 1 second. I want to try to go and see if there's any questions that I can answer over on the Education on Air page. Okay, good. Looks like everybody's kind of doing okay. No comments there. I will check Twitter after this as well and make sure I kind of respond to everyone that I possibly can over there also. Let me go back to my dashboard here, okay? Again, I hope all of you watching this, I hope all of you tune in, will reach out to me in the future, but I also hope you take this with you because, we can start a conversation. I can share this presentation here for a half an hour, but there's so much here to explore, and just giving this dashboard to your students and letting them jump in and dive and explore will be incredibly meaningful. I want to point out something a little bit more equally valuable, but a little bit more mundane, right? So you may have heard about Google's efforts to digitize all the print materials on Earth. And one of those experiences is the Google News Archive search. I'm a big fan about this here in the United States. A lot of states are battling with Common Core state standards, good, the bad, and the ugly. And the Google News Newspaper Archive is a collection of newspapers from all over the world in a number of languages, curated here in a digital space that's not only searchable. If you notice right here, I have my Google News search field, and I can search the news archive or I can search the web from here. But as I scroll down a little bit, I look through all of these collections, so again, from around the world, going back to the 1700s, or maybe even earlier in some cases. I'm looking around and I see something like, oh, I don't know, let's pick anything, Le Bien Public. And I really hope I didn't botch that if there's any French teachers here. So let me open this up, and you'll see that I can go back sort by decade, day, week, month, the size of the image, the particular date. But if I just pick one particular newspaper here, April 10th, 1874, I can dive in. I can see what was happening. I can zoom in. I bet some of you are looking at this right now thinking about microfiche or microfilm when we were studying in school, and it looks like that may be going away. But I can zoom in. I can see this newspaper, right? It's 1874. So it's quite old. I can see old advertisements. I can have these experiences and primary source. I can teach my kids to be investigators and researchers rather than consumers of information. I can take an event in history. Sometimes I'll say the first time the United States landed on the moon, and we can talk about that, and we can look at YouTube videos, and then we can really compound the learning by using something like this, going to the date that we landed on the moon, the United States landed on the moon for the first time, and see what they were saying in Tokyo and Johannesburg and Paris and Quebec, and see what the world was saying that day, and talk about an opportunity to compare and contrast information. This is all here at our fingertips to give that to students. Battles in the Vietnam War, what it was like during the civil rights movement or the women's rights movements earlier in the century. Giving kids the ability to be researchers and discoverers, I think, is one of the most powerful things we can give them. Letting them explore, and again, coming back to this idea of creating immersive experiences, letting our students have that, giving them that gift while they're with us here in school. Looks like we're about almost 20 minutes into this session. I did pull up a couple others just to show you for a lot of fun. This one here is Geoguessr, and if you have never seen Geoguessr, I may have just ruined the rest of your day because you may have things that you want to get done, and you will not get them done now. Geoguessr, to me, is a website. It's a statement to the value of the openness that Google gives us on all of their products, or at least many of them. Many of you know, again, the Street View technology, Street View Maps, is open. The Geoguessr site is not a Google product, but it is leveraging that Street View technology to do some really cool things. And when you talk about the idea of deductive reasoning, I can't think of a better solution to give kids and to gamify your classroom and to create challenge-based activities. But when I come to Geoguessr, I can just jump in single player mode or challenge mode. But I also, this is pretty difficult, but if I scroll down, I can find categories: Paris, Australia, Canada, famous places right here. If I jump in single player mode in famous places, Geoguessr is going to take me to a famous place somewhere in the world, and then me as a student, or you playing this game for the rest of the afternoon or evening or morning, wherever you are, I am now tasked with the challenge to figure out where am I. So using Street View technology, obviously I can spin around here a little bit. I can start to move around. I can zoom into, maybe I see a sign over here, right? I can start to try to identify languages. I might use a Chrome extension to start taking screenshots and then using reverse image searches over on Google Images. There's a whole lot that I can do right here inside of this window to be able to do that. And then of course I come over here. Oh, there's a flag students can take a look at. I can come over here and I can take a guess by dropping a pin somewhere on the map. I will just quickly, famous places is a pretty good one, but just so you know, the top level of Geoguessr, when I choose single player, will drop me in here. And when it does, I am just simply somewhere on Earth, which I think is far more interesting than famous places, because now I can look at flora and fauna and try to identify the soil types. I can look around for phone numbers or, again, language. I can move down this road. I just start walking and see what I can find, right? What a challenge. What an opportunity, right? And then, okay, so it looks like I have some, some farming going over here. It looks like sheep. Obviously, the landscape is pretty flat. I'm just going to go ahead and guess I'm in Australia. And I'm going to take a guess in Australia, make that guess. And as you can see, I was so terribly wrong. Looks like I was actually in Brazil or Uruguay, but I didn't do enough reasoning or discovery, right? So I only got one round or 1 point. Play the next round, I'm up and running. Now, They give you a series of 5 rounds to level the playing field in your classroom, make all students get the same experience. There's a partner site of Geoguessr that I just recently discovered called Geoguessr, GeoSettr.com. And here I can go to specific locations in Google Maps, get the coordinates, and set my 5 rounds, point students to those experiences with those coordinates. And if I have teams in my classroom, they now all have the same 5 locations from Google Street View. And again, a wonderful way to encourage deductive reasoning and discovery and collaboration and all these other kind of modern executive functioning skills that we want to give to our kids. I will point out just one other brief tool, and then I will let you have the rest of the time to kind of explore this, try this out, and then encourage you to reach out to me anytime if I can help with anything. Again, you can see the range of tools that are here. Over on the left-hand side, though, on this site, you'll also see this Google EDU update. One of my favorite ways to stay up to date on Google Education Solutions is by curating a number of Googlers and other Google related folks, other trainers, and the hashtag Google EDU. And I populate that in this paper.li resource. So if you link here, every day around 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, this newspaper updates itself and pulls all the social resources that are available mostly from that hashtag and other Google-related sharing solutions. So you can see here, creating the perfect syllabus in Google Docs, Gmail spam folder, video content. You've probably seen these paper.lis before, but I want to share here today because it's an easy way for you to just grab and something to come back and look at to stay constantly up to date. So I think between both this resource and this dashboard, there's opportunity for all educators to take a look, whether you're on Android or on Chromebooks or some other device. It doesn't matter, because using the ecosystem, we have the ability to make this space, to create these experiences, and give kids the ability to be deductive reasoners, deductive reasoning experts, investigators, researchers, and again, all of these kind of immersive literacy tools that we want them to be able to have and to use in our classrooms. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and take a pause. I'm going to try to see if there's anyone else trying to ask any questions over on the event site. Let me just take a quick look. And I don't see any questions coming through. I see some of you. Oh, I see quite a few of you in here in the document, so that's wonderful. I'm going to be on Twitter here in a minute and accessing anybody who's trying to tweet me and responding to you there as well. And hopefully, if you can see my hashtag here, obviously, if you need anything, please reach out to me over on Twitter or Google Plus or anywhere, and we'll pick it up from there. Coming over here right now, I see Bonnie. Hello, Bonnie. Good to see you. And Angela, Minriva Learning. This is great. It's good to see everybody in here. Rob Reynolds. Hello, Rob. Excellent, excellent. So I will tune in over on Twitter side, take a look at some of your tweets and respond and go from there. It's been a pleasure sharing with everyone. I hope you found the time worthy, and I hope you find this dashboard of tools valuable for your classrooms.